I wanted to try and put together a little video here for beginner students. They often wonder what they should buy to start out with. If you have nothing, let me give you a few items that are absolutely necessary that I use every day. Also from that, as a new video is released, you may want to add a new tool each time. That is what I did in the beginning, as I got the basics, and then each time I learned something new, whether it was in a in-studio class or on a tutorial, I made notes of the new tools that they used and kept myself a list, and so I gradually grew my arsenal of tools. So let me start with the very, very, very basic, absolutely must-have tools. And I may even miss something, so I want to apologize ahead of time. First of all, you're going to need pliers. There are all types of pliers. These are the two absolutely must-haves. They are they have flat insides. You cannot get these at a hardware store. A hardware store will have pliers with groove teeth that will mar metal. And these are very inexpensive from Rio Grande. This is a flat nose plier. This is a needle nose plier. Both of those are flat and they will grip the metal and you can twist and turn. So those are definitely a necessity. This is a round nose plier, and it is also a necessity. Both mandrels are round, and they do grow in size, but they're definitely needed when working with wire. I use these constantly. So a type of round nose plier is also very necessary. The other plier that I use absolutely every day is a bail plier. Now you can get this in lots of different brands, but you can get the basic one at a very inexpensive price. It'll have a larger bail and a smaller bail. This is probably not necessary when you make your first purchase, but I would do this soon after. It is called a round nose plier. Half round plier, excuse me. There is one that is round and one that is flat, and this will help you work with things and to curve them. Again, as I say, this is not necessarily an immediate need, but something you will want to do pretty quickly. And as inexpensive as it is, let me encourage you to go ahead and add it to your tool arsenal. Then you're going to need flush cutters. They're called flush cutters because this back here is basically as flush as you can get. There are some, the more expensive the brand you get, generally it's more flush, but getting it this flush is a good start. I also have this pair of cutters that I used constantly. Only one is needed, and if you can only get one, let me recommend that you buy the flush cutters. You're going to need tweezers as well. You do not have to have the locking nose tweezers, but I have found that I use them more and more. You're definitely going to want just a pair of regular stainless steel tweezers. I move them all the time. I move pieces all the time with them. They're little itsy bitsy pieces, and sometimes my little chubby fingers just can't get things where I need them. These will become extensions of your fingers, so you will need pliers. Now you're going to need a way to cut the metal. This is a Green Lion saw. It is my favorite saw that I've ever used. It is roughly $50, and the projects we're going to do, even as a basic project, you're going to need a jeweler's saw. I recommend joist chins as well, but these are very limited in what they can do. When we're piercing, when we're doing other kinds of projects, you're going to have a jeweler saw. You could get an inexpensive German saw, but they can be very frustrating, and I think they're even more difficult to learn on. I have grease on mine here because I gave it a good cleaning, and it is metal, and metal can rust, so I gave it a good cleaning and greased her down. So let me encourage you to get a jeweler saw. It's very, very necessary. As I mentioned, joist chins are very beneficial. They have a lifetime warranty. They're kitchen shears, but there's something that cuts metal brilliantly. I've had these forever, and they still cut perfectly. Now, as far as a bench pin and that type of thing goes, you're going to need something like this. If you do not have a jeweler's bench, that's fine, but get an old desk or a table or something that you can elevate on some blocks to put your work surface about chest level. My bench pin is a more expensive setup. I get this piece with a steel block. I get this so that I can swap things out. But you can get an inexpensive wooden bench pin from Rio Grande or other jewelry tool suppliers that will literally clamp on your bench with a C-clamp. Any kind of desk, any kind of table, but you're going to need something to hold your metal on. If this were a piece of metal, you would need something to hold it on, something to lay it on. A bench pin is disposable because you're going to need something to drill into, or that when you drill through the metal, it will support it, and it's okay that it gets holes drilled on it. And it's close here so that you can work right there in front of you and have that. So you do not have to have an expensive setup like this. You can get an inexpensive one that will clamp to your table or bench. You will want, if you do an old desk or table, make sure though that you do elevate it with blocks or some sort of apparatus so that it is up higher. Now, you are going to need a steel block. I have a little steel block here that I use. I do have an anvil over there that I use sometimes when I'm stamping, but you are going to need a little steel block. Even though this is a steel block, I don't use it. It's not as hardened as this is. So this is a great purchase. You're going to need that frequently. Obviously, you're going to need things like, you know, a small ruler. I use this a lot. You're going to need fine point Sharpies. You're also going to need hammers. A brass mallet is a utilitarian hammer that you it's okay that it gets messed up. It's okay that it gets damaged here. It's really just for hitting things, not to apply decoration, but it's generally in order to use a tool with. So if you've got a tool and then you hammer with this, so it's not something you would hit directly on your metal, although you may see me from time to time kind of use it to tap on it. It's definitely not a forming hammer, let me put it that way. But you will need a brass mallet. That is something that you will use. For instance, if you use a doming block or something and you have a mandrel or a tool, you will hit it with this. A leather mallet is something else used frequently because it is soft and it's not going to mar the metal. So you can hit a bracelet around a mandrel or a ring around a mandrel, and the leather mallet will not damage it. And you're also going to need a hammer. You can get a silversmith hammer, a goldsmith hammer. The hammers are endless. There's thousands of hammers that you could buy, and the more that you do jewelry, the more you will buy. But a very basic, good quality hammer is something like this Fretz hammer, and it's a 20M. It has a flat, slightly rounded face that you can use to form your metal, but it also has a round ball that I use constantly for texturing and various other things. So those are 3 hammers that I recommend getting right off the bat if you can. Now you're going to need a way to finish your pieces, and you're going to need files, and you're going to need sandpaper. Now, I found this little sander at an automotive store. They peel off. This is for fine finishing. It has upper grades, so you're going to need something like that. You can get 3M finishing papers. This is a full course, from very coarse all the way up. Actually, this goes here, all the way down to very, very fine. That's a very manual way of finishing your metal, but in the beginning, if you do not have a rotary tool, you're going to definitely need that. If you do not have a flex shaft, I have a Fordham flex shaft. It's something I use constantly, but it is pricey. So in the beginning, if you may have a Dremel, and you can buy a flexible shaft for your Dremel. Although they can get pricey too, and if you're getting to that level, let me recommend that you do go ahead and get a Fordham flex shaft, because it's just that much more, gives you that much more tool for the money. But if you have a flex shaft, it is very doable, very usable, and then you can use, with either the flex shaft or the Fordham, you can use a variety of polishing things. Polishing and finishing your jewelry is necessary. You can't just leave it raw and unfinished. You can get the little bristles like this in various grits. You can buy a kit, and you can buy the mandrels. There are silicone polishing items. Those polish great. I even have some of these Deco polishers that come already on the mandrels. So there's a variety of polishing tools, but these all go on a rotary apparatus. So they would neither go on a flex shaft or a Dremel. Another thing you're going to need is drill bits, and you're going to need drill bits such as these that drill through metal. They're teeny tiny. You will need to get them at a jewelry supply. You can see how small they are, but they're very, very hard to drill through metal, and they again would go in a rotary device, either a flex shaft or a Dremel. That is very, very necessary. Now, in the very beginning, you can get a hole punch. On the very first project, I do show you a picture of a type of drill that you twist down, and you can get a hole through there. You can also buy a little manual twist drill, but you're going to quickly wear out trying to do those. So eventually you're going to need some type of a rotary tool that you can put drill bits in. You're also going to need something to solder on. Now, we solder with Argentium. So with Argentium, you have to have a hard charcoal block. And I buy the big round ones because then I don't have to worry about not having enough room to solder and fuse. You do not have to have an expensive torch set up. You can use an inexpensive butane torch. These are refillable, and I used these for a long time before I ever got a different torch setup. In order to solder, you're going to not only need that and a torch, but you're going to need flux, which is disposable. I use Rhonda Coriel's purple flux. It's perfect for argentium, but it can also be used on other metals. You're going to need a pickle pot, and I don't have that over here. It's just simply a crock pot. You heat it up. Once you've soldered and fused, you will need to have a pickle pot with a chemical in it to remove the flux. It's not pickle juice. I don't know why we even started calling it pickle, but pH down, which you can get at your pool supply. You put it in there with water and it heats, and then you put that in there and it will remove this flux after it's been heated and coated on your metal. So that's going to get you started. Another item that I don't have out here is a soft bristle brass brush. That you can only get it at your jewelry supply like Rio Grande or somewhere. Now all of my students get a special discount from Rio Grande. The link is in the jewelry membership tutorial with instructions on what to tell Rio Grande to set up your account, and they will get you set up with a student discount. But this will get you started, and it may seem pricey at first, but it is an investment. And it is a, you know, it's as much fun as crocheting and knitting are. You don't need a lot of tools for that. And if it's just a hobby, that's fine. If you really are serious about being a silversmith, you're going to have to put some investment forth. And I promise you, though, you are going to love making jewelry, and you will not regret stepping forward into this. Let me also say that after a while, if it really isn't something that just makes your heart sing, jewelry tools are easy to sell. There are so many aspiring metalsmiths and silversmiths that you can sell them easily. So if you make a purchase, don't be afraid to make a purchase that you will regret it. Also with Rio Grande, they have a return policy within a certain period of time. So, you know, they will take things back. If you get it, you look at it, you don't like it, now don't use it. Just if you get a tool, it's not what you thought it was, then contact them and they will allow you to return it. So there are tons of other tools, but I really think that if you can start with these tools, you will be well on your way, and I will post a list, and that way with the actual links to Rio Grande site, and that way you can look them over on their website and get started. And if you have any questions, please contact me, email me, message me on Facebook. Just let me know, because I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And happy silversmithing!